All right, so mixed reactions coming in from American citizens. But let me get in my guests at this moment. Vibhuti Jha, former Republican candidate for New York Assembly, is joining us on the show. Dr. Michael Owens, Mayor Mableton, is joining us. And Rohit Sharma, journalist at Washington, D.C., somebody who's covered the White House extensively, is also joining us. Good evening and namaskar to all of you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us on Mirror Now. Vibhuti Jha, let me start with you. Have the Republicans now finally found a stronger candidate in Democrats with Kamala Harris coming in?
Thank you for having me over here. I wouldn't know about the strong or the weak. I only know there is, as a sports analogy, you always welcome whoever your opponent is. You have no choice about the opponent, right? And the matches are won by a dropped catch or an interception or a fumble, which Dr. Owens will relate to, given the NFL example. So I would put it this way, that Mr. Biden's departure is something like, this is an unprecedented situation in American political history. For the first ever time, this kind of a scenario has emerged. Republicans would be very unhappy. The convention was wasted attacking Joe Biden. And, I want my money back, as the saying goes, so that I can focus my attack on Kamala Harris. But as you said, Kamala Harris is not quite black. She has an Indian origin, no doubt, but her father was from Jamaica. So there are many people here, the black people opine that she is not quite black. Okay, so that's another fact that I wanted to present to you. But Kamala Harris, as you rightly pointed out, she hasn't done anything extraordinary as a vice president to endear herself to the American audiences. She is a woman, the first woman to get a shot to become the president. Is romantic an idea, no doubt about it. So it's a very romantic idea that Americans want that a woman should come as a president of the country. But her performance has been absolutely abysmal. She has very poor ranking within her own party, regardless of the party politics, as I put it. She did not win a single primary or a caucus during her first bid. On the contrary, she was demolished by Tulsi Gabbard in the first debate that led to her ouster she didn't even poll 1%. So she's not the darling of Democratic Party at all. She is there on a no-choice basis because she became the vice president. So I would say that as a Republican, I would only caution Mr. Trump for only one thing, is that be careful with your choice of words by saying that, she will be easier to beat. No, you do not want to say that, because no opponent must ever be taken for granted for all the good reasons that I talked about. And we have to respect whoever the opponent is.
Okay.
So I would put it this way, that Kamala Harris on this bid, you will see a real surge to the absolute extreme left of the Democratic Party. This is not the Democratic Party where even Clinton or Jimmy Carter would qualify to be as a Democrat. Yeah.
In fact, interestingly, this will be the first presidential election in the U.S. since 1976 to not have a Biden, Bush, or Clinton on the ticket. But let me take this across to Dr. Michael Owens. Dr. Michael Owens, for outsiders, this really seems like a stronger united Republican versus a rather disorganized Democratic Party.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I would not agree to that at all. As a matter of fact, would like to highlight the fact of just how quickly the entire Democratic apparatus has came in to support our current vice president in a show of support. Already she's raised almost, I think, surpassed $50,000 or $50 million in the past 24 hours, and some estimates say it may go up to as high as $100 million in 24 hours of fundraising. That is absolutely unheard of, but it also speaks towards not just large donors, but it speaks to small donors across the country that want to see her elected. Another thing I want to call out is the fact that she is largely seen as an African-American female. And I think on two fronts that is very important. She belongs to a large African-American fraternity here in the United States, which, last night I think the fraternities came together and there were Black women across the country if the numbers don't get me wrong, it was almost 50,000 women joined a Zoom call last night in support of her, raising well over $500,000 in one call. There is unity here, clearly, for the vice president in her nod and her push to be the next president of the United States. I think the fact that she is a woman is something absolutely many people are rallying around. I think there's still a lot of people that go back to the last election when Senator Hillary Clinton was at the, was almost there at that point. And I think now there's this push to make sure that the next president of the United States is a woman, and Kamala Harris will be that person to be elected. With me as a mayor.
And do you also think, Dr. Owens, that Kamala Harris would resonate with the younger voters? Survey after survey have stated that between 18 and 25-year-olds, they're not very convinced to go out and vote. Would you still, would you believe that Kamala Harris would be able to change that?
I think you have to look at every race. There's advantages and disadvantages that present themselves. Kamala Harris, compared to our current president, is obviously a lot younger. If you want to talk about connecting, if you want to see her out on the campaign trail and engaged and full of energy, that is what you're going to see. That alone, I think, will lead to a higher level of connection. But we all know in the United States, the turnout rate for people 18 to 24 is low. It's low across the board, no matter whether Democrats, Republicans, or independents. Every single cycle, we work to get more people out to be engaged and vote at a younger demographic profile. That's what we're going to do now. But I do expect to see a very energized, a very energetic and engaged Kamala Harris when she's out on the campaign trail.